Well, we have a little bit of a dilemma. I've got about 50 acres right here ready to get cut right now, but we're supposed to have thunderstorms this afternoon, so I don't know if I want to invest the diesel in the putting down this hay right now. So that's where we start our day. Pretty much we'll be starting that same thought process every day for the next couple of weeks. You know, have to take a little bit of a break from the boats, and I have to take a little break from the chainsaws. Although I might get a new one today. We're kind of in limbo on one. It might be interesting to you guys on the channel. Now I'm going to do this for the Hilltop Saw Shop Outboards, Boats and Trains channel and discuss a little bit about the rail fanning side of the channel. And man, I should be out cutting right now, but those clouds are telling me that maybe not. So that's the dilemma of the farmer, with diesel being $6 a gallon because of, well, I'm not going to get into politics, but it's pretty predictable. When you shut off the supply to the country, guess what? Prices start going up. But we have a few local railroads, and my interest as a kid was in the Pennsylvania area coal mining and the railroads that supported that. And around here, those would have been the Lackawanna, the Lehigh Valley, and then as time went on, that turned into Erie, Lackawanna, and then Conrail and all that crap. The railroads that are still here, all of them have kind of an interesting history. The one that goes through town is the New York, Susquehanna, and Western, and that's where I've got most of my video time. And it has its history way, way, way back in the 1800s. And it was a 6-foot line, got changed to a standard width line, was a Lackawanna railroad line for a long time, and then they merged with Erie to Erie, Lackawanna, and then eventually that got broken up into Conrail, and then that had some mishmash of ownerships and changes in the industry, and eventually got taken over by the New York, Susquehanna, and Western. And that's a story which is interesting in of itself, as I'm finding out. But that's the one I'm focusing on right now because it really has two things. One is here, and the second is it has interest for me for a very, very long time. And on the model railroading side, you know, I focused on Erie, Lackawanna, and the Lehigh Valley in particular. So we have the New York, Susquehanna, and Western, and that one has historical roots all the way back into the coal mining days. We have Norfolk Southern down through Binghamton on the old Erie-Lackawanna line that was originally an Erie line. We've got the Finger Lakes Railroad, and that goes from Syracuse west. A lot of the trains there are just the trash trains. And that ties in well to the NYS&W because they haul a lot of the trash up from the city, from New Jersey, and that goes to the Finger Lakes, and there's an interchange up in Syracuse. I think I've got some video of that spot. So maybe I'll insert a little Finger Lakes right here, and maybe that interchange as well. I've got some video of that. So those two railroads are kind of interesting. And I like the Finger Lakes just simply because it's a small railroad trying to make their way. They had their roots with the Lehigh Valley, and they've painted some of their locomotives with the old Lightning New York Central paint scheme, which is pretty cool. And we also have a small short line over in Ithaca, the Ithaca Central, and that's another one that had a whole bunch of history over time. There was Lehigh Valley in there, and Norfolk Southern had it for a little bit, and Ithaca Central right now has its roots out west somewhere, some guy out there with a bunch of short lines, and I've got some video of them. I'll stick that in there. But their main purpose in life is to bring salt from the Cargill salt mine in the Lansing area. I guess it's in Myers in Lansing area, and bringing it south of Sayre, where it interchanges in Sayre with Norfolk Southern. Of course, they take it to all the different parts of the country. And that's an interesting one. There's a line that goes up to Hartford from down south, and they just got bought out by R.J. Corman. And I'm not sure what their purpose in life is. I used to see them when I was in the highway trucks over in Hartford where they have this huge propane depot and a pipeline starting there. I don't know if that railroad has any kind of a interchange with that operation. I just don't know. Right now, the only thing I see there is they store grain cars, lots and lots of them. Got Norfolk Southern, New York Susquehanna and Western, Finger Lakes, R.J. Corman, and Ithaca Central, and of course we have CSX up in Syracuse. CSX is the other class 1 that New York Susquehanna and Western interchanges with up in Syracuse. So we've got a lot of stuff. It's all interesting, you know. And the New York Susquehanna and Western that I focus on is the Northern Division, not the Utica side, just simply from Binghamton up to Syracuse. That's where I usually have time. And it's not like I'm a focused rail fan guy. What happens is I just go off and do things like get parts or supplies for the farming operation, the logging operation, and I just stumble on those trains all the time. And actually before that, when I worked for Highway, I used to see the trains go by the highway department, and that's really where my rail fanning interest started. Of course, I was interested in model trains as a kid, but as an adult, I used to think those yellow jackets were just so cool. And I grabbed my phone out, and every time one went by the highway department, I happened to be free, I go try to get a little video of that thing. And I did a few from the road as well. I've got those yellow jackets from about 2004, 2003 time frame all the way through till now. And not in a structured way, because I certainly wasn't a photographer, still not. Just learning the cameras, and actually we're going to try something today with this camera. And so that's where it all started, and those are the railroads we have to work with. Norfolk Southern, CSX, New York Susquehanna and Western, R.J. Corman, Finger Lakes, Ithaca Central, and that gives you lots and lots of opportunities. And today I think I'm just going to go downtown because I have to go to CNY Farm Supply again for some parts for a chainsaw I'm building. And the dilemma is today I want to be cutting, but I kind of have a free day to go back and do a little bit of saw work because it's supposed to thunderstorm today, and I don't want to have the hay down and get it rained on. Well, it's raining pretty hard. Maybe I should go out and chase a train. There's two books that I was given, and both of these books have got a lot of good pictures and a lot of history. And in particular, this book right here, let me see if I can find the author for you, is a really, really, really well done book that covers the history of that line that goes between Binghamton and Syracuse. And I haven't had a chance to read it just yet, but I started scanning it, and it's just one of those books you have to take a look at 2 or 3 times. Now, I'm not going to put that on the video, but what I will do is this, is if you really are interested in the history of the railroad that goes through Cortland from Binghamton to Syracuse and back, it looks to me like this book right here covers it absolutely in depth. You know, a whole lot better than Wikipedia and places like that I've typically gone to the past. A whole lot better than most of the other online sources that I've been using over the past few years to try to glean some information. And after today, I started taking a look at the Cortland station and kind of asking the question myself, you know, what is the history? Then this was made available to me, and I'm going to read this book probably multiple times. And rather than talk about the contents, I would suggest you go and find it, if you can find it online. Yeah, one of these days I should take you on a tour of Cortland County. I know these roads like the back of my hand. I plowed them, mowed them, was on oil and stone operations and grinding and reconstruction operations on these roads for many, many years. And there's some beautiful spots in this county. There really is. And there used to be a joke that you could always tell a county road because it was rougher than the rest of the roads. But Cortland County went through this 30-year project, and they're about halfway through, where they first had to do what was called base stabilization of the roads to get them up to the point where you could actually do something with them. And for the most part, after base stabilization, they would just put an oil and stone surface. And now in some roads, they're going back and doing true asphalt on them. But unless you have a stable base on that road, you can't really do asphalt because it'll just flex and break up and pothole, you know. Be a big waste of money. But and relative to New York, Susquehanna, and Western, Cortland County Highway doesn't do much with them. You would think it would be a great way to get salt, right? You know, but the railroads, I guess, they're not structured to be able to do that with small customers. They need large volumes, and they need places to load and unload and places like that. Now, one of the interesting little lines we're going to go across is there was a line, there was a railroad line that went from Cortland to Dryden. But that line that goes behind the buildings goes all the way out to Builder's Best and Gutchess Lumber. Gutchess Lumber is interesting in the fact that they are the largest landowner in New York State. They have facilities both in New York State and Pennsylvania, I suspect other places. That's who I sell to typically with my timber. And huge operation, mostly serviced by truck, but the tracks are right there. And it's kind of interesting because the town of Cortlandville pretty much covered up the track where it crosses the road, making it pretty much inoperable and useless at this point on. So, but that old track that goes out past them, actually at one time was a Lehigh Valley that went all the way out to Dryden. So while I've been pontificating on the rail fan type thing, I've got to do a little bit of service on this excavator and get some oil in the swing box and take some of the pieces of stuff that came out of there and I don't know where this came from, but it ended up in there. I put in Lucas hub oil in these things, by the way, and because it's an old machine, it's a little bit heavier than the standard 90 weight. It's more like about 120. Ever wonder how you ruin a shirt? I kind of like the way these lines go, so I can easily get the pins greased without having to climb all over the machine. There's only one that I have to really climb to get.